Hey, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil Reacts, to look into the murder of Beverly Jarosz of Cleveland. You know, it happened decades ago, and we're hoping that you can help solve this 57-year-old whodunit. And please, while you're at it, take a moment, hit the like and the subscribe button, ring the bell, and indicate that you want to get the notifications. Well, you heard me correct. This murder occurred nearly 57 years ago, just 3 days after Christmas. 16-year-old Beverly Jarosz was strangled and stabbed to death in her bedroom. I mean, isn't that incredible? Home is supposed to be the safest place we can be. And yet this Garland Heights teen suffered a brutal and deadly attack. Again, it was just 3 days after Christmas in 1964 when she was found murdered in her home. Her father would be the first to find her. The 16-year-old was a brilliant young woman who had a talent for poetry. She volunteered in the community and she was loved by everyone that knew her. By all accounts, she was a gifted student at the all-girl Catholic school she attended, Marymount High School. Let's watch this video clip of the news about this case. I think you'll find this interesting.
Oh, never forget. Every day when I wake up, Beverly is probably one of my first thoughts in the morning, forever.
Carol Bartos was only 12 years old when her sister, Beverly Jarosz, was murdered inside their home in Garfield Heights in December 1964. The 16-year-old had left her sister at their grandmother's home and went to her house to meet a girlfriend. But a few hours later, the girlfriend called, saying she couldn't find Beverly. The grandmother called the girl's father, who rushed to their Thornton Avenue home.
A few more minutes, and I called, and my dad answered, and he goes, "Just a minute, I'm going to go upstairs now." Then he came back down, and he just started yelling, "Murder, murder," and he was just hysterical.
The beautiful high school student had been strangled and stabbed. Garfield Heights police immediately began investigating. But 52 years later, the person responsible for her death has not yet been caught.
Ever since this happened back in '64, I know we received tips.
But the I-Team learned with the help of new technology, detectives now have some partial DNA evidence that is leading them closer to the killer.
We do have some suspects. There are at least two prime suspects. Through technology and science and some other investigative routes that we have taken, we're able to develop them.
Police say they are still looking for that one piece of missing information that will help solve this horrific case.
Detectives say they need first-hand facts, and they believe somebody has the information they need.
Maybe somebody's been sitting on a secret for this long. Maybe the person who did it passed away, and now they're able to come forward and talk to us. That's what we need.
Detectives say a reward of up to $2,500 is now being offered through Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County.
That something will give us, shed light on who really did this to her.
They want answers, so yeah, we're not going to stop.
That was Detective Carl Bigacki of the Garfield Heights Police Department. He says his agency has at least two prime suspects now based on technology, and they have a re-emphasis on the investigation, hoping that the public will step forward and help bring this killer to justice. You know, it appears the police department's also getting a lot of help from an unsolved homicide task force operated under the authority of the Ohio Attorney General's office. It can seem overwhelming when you consider that the AG's website shows that there are almost 2,200 unsolved murders in the state of Ohio. But General Yost is hoping his cold case unit can bring a fresh set of eyes to the case like Beverly's, and they really plan on ramping up things with forensic analysis and other investigative resources to make it happen. Well, let's go back to that day in which Beverly died. Early that day, Beverly and her younger sister, Carol, spent the morning at their grandmother's house while her parents worked. Beverly's grandmother lived about a mile away. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They just finished lunch, and Beverly left her little sister Carol with her grandmother, saying she needed to run home and meet a girlfriend who was coming to meet her. At about 1:25 in the afternoon, Beverly's friend arrived at the house and reported that she rang the doorbell, knocked on the door, but there was no answer. Now, what no one knew at first was that as she left her grandmother's house, a next door neighbor, an 18-year-old young man, offered to give her a ride home. I don't know what happened there. Now we're back at the house. The neighbor or the friend shows up at the door and can't get Beverly to answer the door. She could hear loud music playing upstairs. She thought she heard what sounded like a big thud. When she couldn't get a response at the door, she couldn't tell whether Beverly was playing a prank on her, but she just went home. She thought about it a little bit and later called Beverly's grandmother. Beverly's grandmother was concerned, and she reached out to Beverly's mother and father, finally getting a hold of her father at work, explaining the mysterious circumstances. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is 2.5 hours after she left her grandmother's house. When Dad arrived at the home, he could hear the loud music playing as he approached the front door. Well, once inside, he found Beverly lying on her bedroom floor, covered in blood. She'd been bound around the neck and ankles with 3 separate cords, and she had been brutally murdered. Police were called and an autopsy was performed. The medical examiner determined that Beverly died from asphyxiation, the garrots around the neck. Although he commented that the 42 stab wounds in her neck and chest would have been fatal also. The murder weapon was never located in this case. Now, the investigation revealed some really interesting things. And it kind of makes us believe that the killer would have brought the rope bindings with him, suggesting some form of organization. And when you look at these ropes and you see that they were tied beforehand, probably in order to accomplish this crime, it starts to give you an idea of the level of preparation and sophistication. It was never determined where the rope originated, but the police theorized that it was brought to the scene by the offender. Since no knives were missing from the home, it was believed that the killer brought and then maintained control of the knife that was used in the homicide. During the investigation, police learned that there had been a number of hang-up phone calls in the weeks leading up to the assault. This was really kind of weird stuff here. Reports suggest that there were as many as 10 to 12 phone calls per day. If the right person didn't answer, the phone got hung up. Another disturbing clue was that there was an anonymous gift that was left on the Jarosz back porch just days before the assault. The gift box was addressed to Beverly, and it contained a bracelet and a ring. It was never signed. And then, of course, there was the night in which Beverly's father walked outside and observed someone standing on their front lawn looking up at Beverly's bedroom. When he approached the man, a foot chase ensued. The suspect got away, and we never found out who that was. Well, police looked closely at the neighbors of Beverly's grandmother. Now, whether this is the same person or a different boy, a newspaper article revealed that they questioned a young man named Harry, who apparently confessed and then later denied the killing of Jarosz. That suspect had a criminal history, too. His history? Assaulting 2 women at knife point. In fact, in one of the interviews with police, he was quoted as saying, quote, "Whenever I get disturbed, I find a knife in my hand," close quote. I can't help but think of the circumstances discovered by Beverly's friend. Think about this. The front door was unlocked, but the screen was closed. That was completely out of character for Beverly, especially since the 16-year-old had this mysterious gift on her porch and these weird phone calls. Now, did the young man who drove her home have something to do with her death? I don't know. Did he drop her off and there was somebody else that was hiding to take control of her when she approached her front door? Again, I don't know. Perhaps she made it inside the home safely, heard a knock at the door, and assumed it was her friend, opening it to be surprised by an unwelcome person who forced their way into the home and gained control over the 16-year-old child. Well, here's my question for you. Think about the victim risk continuum that we've talked about so many times before, and tell me whether you think Beverly Jarosz was killed by someone she knew or if she was a victim of opportunity. I'll look forward to reading your responses down below. And folks, if you have any information about this case, please call the Garfield Heights Police Department at area code 216-475-5686. Hey, and please don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. Ring the bell, get the notifications, join the team. We'll see you soon at the next crime scene.